All right, everybody, welcome back. Today I hope to finish wrapping up equipment, but the big thing that we haven't handled is when you equip an item, you need to see that it was equipped onto your hand, right? You need to see what item you have. So let's handle that by coming into C++ classes, into public. In the equipment section, we're going to create a new class, and it's going to be an actor, and this is going to be an equipment actor. And we're just going to create that class, and we'll see it here. We're going to get rid of everything except the constructor. And for an equipment actor, this is going to be pretty straightforward. I just need two things so far. The first one's a T object pointer to a use scene component, and that's going to be called root scene. And we'll put U property visible anywhere, meta equals allow private access to true. And then the second, we're going to want a T object pointer to use static mesh component, and this will be called equipment mesh. Give it a U property visible anywhere, meta equals allow private access to true. Okay, so in the equipment actor itself, back in the constructor, first thing I need to do is set replicates to true because we're only spawning these on the server, but we need the clients to see them. And then I take the root scene and I set that equal to create default sub-object of a use scene component that we'll call root scene. And then we're going to call set root component to root scene. And then I'm going to take the equipment mesh, set that equal to create default sub-object of a use static mesh component. And we'll call this equipment mesh. And then we need to take the equipment mesh and call setup attachment to get root component. And then we'll take the equipment mesh and we will call set collision enabled to e collision enabled no collision. And this is truthfully all we have to do on the equipment actor because this is more so a visual than anything. But back on our equipment definition itself, underneath our forward declaration here, we're going to create a ustruct, and this is going to be f equipment actors to spawn. And inside here, we're going to make a tsoft class pointer to an a equipment actor that we can forward declare, and this will be called equipment class. And we'll set that equal to null pointer, give it a u property. That's just edit defaults only. And then we're going to need an f name, and this is called attach name. And then make defaults that, edit defaults only. And that's all we currently need. And every equipment CDO, this is info down here, and that's info up there. That organization was going to get to me. But at the bottom of the CDO, we need to make a T array of F equipment actors to spawn, and this will be called actors to spawn. Give this a U property, edit defaults only, categories, custom values, actors. So now that our equipment CDO, our definition is going to have all this, we can use this inside the equipment instance. Okay, we're gonna do something. I got ahead of myself making the equipment instance and unequipped, and then I never got to it, but it's time to get to it. So in the public section, however, we need two more functions. I need void spawn equipment actors, which will take a const t array of f equipment actors to spawn that we can do a forward declaration by reference called actors to spawn. And then we need void. We need a destroy spawned actors, which means I need to keep track of them. So I'll need a private section with a T array of actor pointers, and we'll just call this spawned actors. Get a U property, and that's it. Generate definitions for these. And then before we fill these out and I go into these functions, we're going to ask ourselves, where can we even call spawn actors and destroy actors? And we can do that inside the manager component. Inside the manager component on add entry, right here after we've created the new object, before we mark it dirty, after we add the equipment stats, we could say new entry dot instance, and then the new entry instance call spawn equipment actors, where we still have the equipment CDO here, which now contains our actors to spawn. And then in the remove entry, once we've matched the instance that we're moving it up, before we pull it off right there, we could say entry.instance. We could say destroy spawned actors. And then we also have the equipped and unequipped. And if you ask me truthfully, I'm just giving this to you here for the sake of expandability and flexibility. I don't have any use for it. Lyra does this on equipped and on unequipped. But if you look at what's inside their function bodies, the only thing that's inside there is a blueprint implementable event that fires. So even in Lyra, it does nothing other than trigger a blueprint event that you need hooked up. So we can still use it how they use it. However, if you remember that add item returns a uEquipment instance pointer, we're returning when we're done with it, the instance right here. So when we come down here and we say add entry, the return value is that instance. So we'll say if uEquipment instance pointer, and we can say result because it's the result. And we just close that off. Then we can take the results and call on equipped. And then the same thing with unequip item right before it. We already have the equipment instances being passed in, so we'll just use that to say on unequipped right here, right before we remove the entry. And that's only going to happen on the server. So if you need any client information or anything to have, you're going to need to make sure you have that properly, because this will only fire on the server. But destroy spawned actors is so easy. All we have to loop through, we need for actor pointer actor through the spawned actors. We just call actor destroy, and that's the whole function. But spawning them is a little bit different because, well, we need to attach these things to something, right? You need to spawn it on the player, and the player needs to see it. But I'm just in this random U object, right? I'm in this random U object. How do I get the player inside a U object? Well, oh, I just closed the equipment manager component, and I need that. Well, come back to add entry. We're going to see that when we make the new object and when we make the instance and we spawn it into the world, we set the outer to the owner component and get owner. The owner component is the equipment component. The owner is the player controller. So the outer is the player controller. So knowing that the outer is the player controller, I can come to into the private, make an A character pointer player term called get character. And I don't want an inline for this. I don't know why I generated it for me inline. Get character. So we could say if a player controller pointer player controller equals cast a player controller onto get outer. You can call that on any object. All we have to do is return cast a character onto the player controller get pawn. And if not, then I'll return null pointer, and we need to include character, and this is a const pointer. So that'll give me the player character that's on the player controller who owns this instance will give me their player, and we get that. So now that I have this character, I could say if a character, pointer, and we could say owning character, because we know if we follow the chain, this is the owning character. We can get character. Now we want to loop through for we'll say for const f equipment actors to spawn reference, and this is actor to spawn, looping through actors to spawn. Now that we loop that, problem is I want to spawn an actor, but our actor is a soft reference, right? We have the actor to spawn and we have the equipment class, but that's a the equipment class is a soft class pointer. To handle soft class pointers, we need to get the fStreamable manager. Reference called manager, set that equal to uAssetManager, get streamable manager. And then we check if is valid actor to spawn dot equipment class dot get. And then that means we need to include equipment actor. So if that is, then we're going to say a equipment actor pointer new actor, and we'll set that equal to get world. You can still get world inside any object, which means you can spawn an actor deferred of an a equipment actor. And the first parameter is the actor to spawn dot equipment class dot get. The second one is the transform, which we could just say f transform identity. And the third parameter is going to be the owner of it, which we could set for the owning character. So the owner of the equipment instance is the player controller, but the owner of the actual piece of equipment that spawns into the world is going to be the player controller that owns that equipment. So if you need anything inside that equipment actor, the owner is the player. So now that I have that, you could do a number of things. Now that we have an equipment actor pointer, you could do a number of things on it before if you further expand this. But for now, we're just going to call finish spawning, which we can still use the f transform identity. We can do that, and then we need to take the new actor and we can we say attach to components. And the component we're attaching it to is the owning character has the get mesh, because the characters have get mesh, and the f attachment transform rules we can qualify at keep relative transform. And then we need the socket name that we're doing that, and that's in the actor to spawn. That's the attached name. And then we're going to do that. And then all we have to do is take to the spawned actors and we can in place, and we're replacing the new actor. All right, but this is a soft pointer, so else we're going to take the manager and we're going to request an async load of the actor to spawn dot equipment class dot to soft object path, comma, and then create our lambda that separate here, where I just want to do the exact same functions. So we will just put this here, bump it up so everything can be here. And then just ask ourselves what we need to capture to make all this stuff work. I need get world and spawned actors. So the first thing I need is a t-weak object pointer to a u equipment instance called weak this, constructed with this. I can capture weak this, and then weak this will allow me to call spawn actor, and weak this will allow me to get into that spawned actors. And then I need the actor to spawn, and then I need the owning character. And that should be it. Let's load up, compile, and we should get into the editor. All right, now that we're back in the editor, we're going to come into blueprints, into equipment, and we're going to make a new folder, and it's going to be for actors. And then we're going to do like we did the definitions. So I'm going to have mace, secondary weapon, field, sword, and we are going to make these. I need an equipment actor. This will be BP, equipment, broken mace. Then this one will be small knife. And this one will be wooden shield, and this one will be bronze sword. Let's open them all up. Okay. So the only thing they really need is the equipment mesh so far, and I'm just going to use shapes. So for the broken mace, I'm going to do a cylinder, and we'll find SM cylinder 100 by 100 by 100, and then I'll just reduce the scale to 0.25. And then bronze sword, we're going to do cube, SM cube 100 by 100 by 100. With a quarter scale. Small knife, we're going to do cone with a 0.25 scale. And this, we're going to do a sphere for the wooden shield. And I need 100 by 100 by 100 and 0.25 scale. And so far, that's all we really need to do for the equipment actors is set what they kind of look like. And then, so this is the, broken mace goes in here. This is the bronze sword, goes in here. This is a small knife, goes in here. This is the shield, goes in here. Which means we need to come to the definitions. And in the definitions now, we have our actors to spawn. And we just have this, which is the equipment class and the attached name. We don't have an attached name, so let's get an attached name. Which means I'm going to come into the player. And we're going to look at the mesh, and we're going to go to the mesh, and we're just going to look at the skeleton. I've got hands. We got left and right hands. So in the hand L, I'm going to add a socket, and this is called equipment, socket, hand L. And I do it all lowercase just to match how they do it. I'm not going to argue. Hand R, add a socket, and then this is equipment, socket, hand R. And actually I didn't even adjust the other one, so we'll make it look like it's in their hand, right? We're going to try to make it look like it's in their hand. So that's the equipment socket hand R and equipment socket hand L. If you hold your right mouse button and scroll your mouse wheel, do you see my cameras? I don't know if you can see up here. My camera speed is if you scroll up, your camera moves faster, and down and it moves slower. So if you ever need to fine-tune your adjustments, I don't know if you do that, but if your camera's moving crazy fast and you can't control it, just slow the camera down. Anyway, here we go. I got that saved. Now that I have that, what I could say is the broken mace. Let's see, the broken mace is right here, and the mace goes in the equipment, socket, and mace goes in the right. And we also see this is the right hand slot too. And then this goes in the left hand. This is the small knife. So I have the small knife, and this is equipment, socket, hand L. The shield. Equipment, socket, and L. Sword, bronze sword, equipment, socket, and R. And that should be truthfully it. We're gonna come in here, pop this, should get a client, grab us a client, open the inventory, and then hit 1. We can give ourselves, we could probably also show debug ability system so you can see all of it coming in here. So you can see all the stats when they line up. But I have a bronze sword will equip, and then in my right hand I have a cube. And then I could take a small knife, and I have a left in my cone in my hand and a cube now. And then I do the wooden shields, and the cone switches to the sphere. And you can see all the stats are all changing depending on what I pick. And then I could do a broken mace, which changes this to a cylinder instead. And then back to this bronze sword, which gives me the health. I have double health and 1 shield. or I have health, shield, and crit chance, or I have double health and shield, or this mace gives me 11.78 crit chance, right? So that's good. And then just to make sure, you can see on this client here, you can see even then he has the actor spawned right there, and then on the server we have the actor spawned right there. So we can, we can move into view and I can swap. See, that gave me that, and then now I have a cone on all machines, and now I have a sphere on all machines, and it's really only happening on the server. But truthfully, I think that should wrap up equipment.